Hey everybody, welcome to Etrailer.com. I'm Bobby, and today we're taking a look at the Titan chain snow tire chains with the ladder pattern and V-bar support links here on our 2021 Ford F250. So this is going to be a very nice way, guys, of giving you a lot of traction control and a lot of that heavy duty applications. What I mean by that, if you have a lot of snow and ice in your area, these are going to be an excellent way of biting through that ice, breaking up and giving us that traction control that we're looking for. So V-bar links are definitely going to be an excellent way, or a very aggressive way, of biting through that snow and ice. Now, these aren't the biggest chains I've ever seen. In fact, they're really not that tall. However, these V-bar studs do a great job, like I said, of breaking through that snow and ice. And to that end, they are going to be just a little bit more aggressive, and they can kind of make installation just a little tricky. What I mean by that is, if you do find yourself trying to put these on inside your garage or your driveway, where you're not having any of that weather to impact between your driveway, the floor that you're on, you could actually end up damaging your floor, especially like in your garage. So the one thing about these guys, you're going to need to actually put them on when you actually need them, and they're going to be a lot or a little less easy to put on because you can't just throw them on your garage before you get going. But again, if you're looking for something to give you the maximum amount of traction control that you're looking for, these are a great start. Now, I think you could probably find yourself a little bit of a thicker chain out there if you really need it, but I still think these are going to do an excellent job. So we also do have a ladder style pattern on here. What that basically means, you can see we're going to have these large gaps here in our tire, and basically this is going to create a hills and valleys sort of mechanism for ourselves. So you're definitely going to be feeling this as we drive. However, this does give you superior start and stop capabilities compared to like your diamond style chains. Now, the one thing that you do lose a little bit is going to be your turning radius with this, because you're going to have to give it just a little bit more acceleration to get over those hills every time that we approach them. Again, though, I think we're going to really like it that we're getting that superior traction control that we're really looking for with these chains. Now, they also are going to be made of a low carbon steel. That basically means that we are going to see a little bit of pitting on here, and that just makes it a little easier to start getting a little more friction as we go down the road, which is great as well. With that, though, we are probably going to need to service these a little bit more than compared to some of your more alloy chains that are on the market. And why I say that, we're going to be experiencing a lot of chemicals on the road, not just moisture from the wet snow and ice that we're going to be running into, but just those chemicals that we're getting on the roads to make them a little bit easier to travel. So I would say spritzing these down where they're not in use is going to be very key of keeping them for years to come. And to that end, especially if you're storing this in a long-term storage kind of area where you're not using it for the entire year, a little oil and grease can make sure that these guys aren't rusting away in the garage, which can definitely be important. One thing I really like about these chains is going to be these cams. I love the cam system on almost any chains out there, and why that is, makes it a lot easier to get this installed. And as you can see, like no movement at all on these chains. I almost have no room to get inside here, which is great. They are nice and locked in on our wheel, and it just makes that installation that much easier. Well, talking about that install, we do have a couple things we have to keep in mind before we can actually get throwing these on our vehicle. The big thing is going to be, where do we put them, right? Do we put it on our front or our rear? Well, today we have it on our rear because I think a lot of people like loading up some sandbags in the back of our trucks to get us that weight in the back, making sure that we're having good contact. Now, the safest thing is always just to go ahead and grab yourself 2 pairs of chains, making it a lot easier for your front and your back to have the traction control that you're looking for. The other thing is to make sure we are putting this on the right tire size. We can check our tire size at home and put it into the fit guide here at etrailer.com. That way we're getting the right tire size for us at home. To begin our installation, what we want to do is just lay out our chains just like so. Now, there are going to be a couple things we want to take note of. The biggest thing is making sure we don't have any kind of kinks or binds in our chain. That's going to make it hard for us to actually get all the way around our wheel. The other thing to take note of course, make sure our cams are open and to the side here. That way we can go ahead and tighten them up later. And a couple other things to kind of take note of. We want to make sure that our hard points of contact are poking up. And what I mean by that are going to be the foldovers here of our chain that's holding onto our side chains. And basically, we just don't want that making contact with the rubber of our tires. That could end up warping it, or I'm sorry, wearing on it, tearing it, and puncturing it. Definitely don't want that. So we can simply set this on our chain or on our tire. To do that, you want to find yourself in the middle of your chain and then just begin to put it on there. Now, what I like to do, find myself in the middle of the chain, kind of use your elbows to wing out your chain. And why I like doing that, it makes it just a little easier to get on your tire without actually rubbing into your rim, which can be great. And then we just simply want to make sure we're setting this on here correctly, checking our fit as we go around. I like to pull my front connections up to the front as well, make sure they're right where I want them. And now we need to make our first connection on the back side of our tire. So we're going to have our extra linkage here and a hook on the other side. We simply need to slot it in. I'm going to go for about the third chain now. Now this can change because we still need to check our fit in the front. Now why I like doing this, as you can kind of see, well, it might be hard to see, but what I'm looking for here is making sure my chain is actually staying on the sidewall of my wheel. I don't want it too close to my rim, and I definitely don't want it to get actually on the the tread of our wheel. So for now, we're going to leave it here at these 3 chains. Now later on, what we're going to do, we need to come back and actually snip off these extra chains because they can start interacting with our strut in the back here and just causing a noise complaint, which definitely be no fun. So for now, we're going to leave them, but do keep in mind, we might have to come back and either change it, we'll definitely snip it. So now we have our extra chainage here in the front. Need to make our last connection. I'm going to use the 3rd chain here as well. Looks like it's in a pretty good spot for me. And then I just need to bring my cam lever back towards the back here. So I might go to this one, but for now what I'm going to do, we do have just a little bit extra slack. I'm going to make sure that my chain is as set as I want it to be. And remember, we still have our cam levers to start tightening up all the way around our wheel. So let's go ahead and see how well the job that does of taking out our slack. Well, with our tool in hand, we can simply insert it into our cam levers and tighten them up all the way around our wheel until we're nice and secure. Now as I'm doing this, I'm just making sure I'm not having any kind of shiftment of my chain on my tire, making sure it's staying nice and aligned. And we are doing a great job of taking out that slack. It's going to get harder and harder to move these cams. As I take a look here, it's doing a really good job of holding this in line. One thing I'm noticing though, I can see that I'm actually kind of getting pulled here. So I think what I'm going to do is back off this cam lever here and try to make sure my cross chain is as horizontal as I can get it. One thing you want to be careful of, not exceeding too much on your lever. I don't think any of us can really do any damage to our sidewall, but it's always better to be safe rather than sorry. This last guy is definitely going to give us some trouble as we're nice and tight. But once we get it, it's going to stay nice and locked in. And now we are very secure here on our wheel. Almost no movement at all, which I love to see. And we are ready to rock and roll. Overall, that installation doesn't really take too much time. Keep in mind, definitely gonna be a little harder because we're gonna probably have to find ourselves actually in the environment we need to use these for. And why I say that, again, driving this on your driveway or especially in your garage could lead to a little bit of damage just because of how these V-bars work. They are designed to break up ice, so they can do a number to our floors. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. Not gonna be the easiest thing you can just throw in your garage and have ready to go. I would maybe look at something like a twist link if you're looking for something just a little easier to actually install on your vehicle and then start hitting the road. But otherwise, they are a great little system. I love the cams. They just do a great job, like I said, of really binding this in and making sure we have no shifting as it's on our wheel. And that way, we're getting that traction control that we're looking for. Otherwise, though, guys, I think that about does it for our look here today at the Titan Chain Snow Tire Chains with the ladder pattern style and V-bar support links here on our 2021 Ford F250. I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.